Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Brian Noble, President and CEO of Asset Compliance Solutions, better known as ACS. Thanks for joining me, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Jesse. Pleasure and honor to be a guest of yours today.
It's great to have you on the program, sir. Now I understand that picture is just a picture or painting in your office, but I believe you are in a much warmer environment than than some of your team at home base there in Buffalo.
That is true. I am blessed and fortunate to be down in the state of sunny Florida. Yeah, all good and great connection on the picture.
Well, I mean, before I hit record, I was mentioning we were freezing a little bit last week on the East Coast. Well, I guess yeah, Nashville's I guess more East Coast, but then you come back to Arizona and it's like 104, and you're just like, gross.
Right.
Can we get something in the middle, please?
Yeah.
That'd be great. Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time, Brian. And for those individuals who are having the pleasure of meeting you, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date?
Absolutely. ACS, which I am the founder of, we are an asset management company, basically, servicing the equipment leasing finance industry, assisting them, with portfolio servicing, underperforming loans, collections, repossessions, and things of that nature. Basically, just assisting, what we would call partners that have great capabilities, but look to reach outside when they get a case that's unmanageable, and then divert to our folks.
Perfect. And how long has the organization been around, Brian?
Uh, Believe it or not, and I have to scratch my head every time, but 1998 was the inception. So we're 28 years this year, which we're all getting old. And when you ask me those kind of questions, it really sinks in.
Oh, well, I mean, congratulations. There's not a lot of businesses
Thank
that
you.
last more than 2 years, let alone five or almost 30. So congrats.
Thank you.
So before you started ACS, like what I guess kind of brought you into that field, Brian?
So great question. Some of my background, I was in a family business that my father had a furniture store. We were located in Buffalo, New York. And at that time, his model was they did a lot of in-store financing. They would finance furniture for people. This was pre the call it rent to own space and things like that. At any rate, we had basically accounts that we would carry for financing individuals for their furniture purchases. And part of my duties were collecting on some of these past due customers and learning some of their challenges and how to navigate that. So with that, I worked for my father for a good, let's call it 10 years. And with any business, a family business, it can be challenging at times, having my own vision and wanting to do things my way. And, my father would always say, well, when it becomes your business, you can do things any way you like. So that led me to spread my wings a little bit. Went to work for a bigger collection agency outfit where I really learned a lot, gained a lot of the knowledge about skip tracing and really customer, centric type of things, and just really gave me a bigger perspective on the whole collections, receivables management space, if you will. And had a real great mentor there. Was an older gentleman that I don't know. We kind of took to each other, and he showed me a lot of things and taught me a lot of things. Um, so with that, fast forward next step, always having an entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to do something on my own, formed ACS back in 1998. And at that time, we were doing some collections, but were asked by one of the lenders if we could actually pick up a piece of this collateral that was out for a collection opportunity. And with a partner and I, that we kind of formulated a plan to try to track down the individual and find the piece of equipment, and got it picked up in a relatively short period of time, and just kind of was excited about all that. Always loved the project, right? It's like the art of the deal. Give us something to do, a challenge, something that's new, and boy, if we can accomplish it, what a win. So that was kind of a breakthrough when we started doing asset recovery.
No, that's perfect. And I guess the investigative part of it, right? Like you said, skip
For-
tracing and it's like, where is
Yep,
it here? Like, is it there? Okay. Then you go upon the asset, right? And it's like, okay,
that's
it's behind barbed wire fence with a couple Dobermans. Uh,
right.
like,
Yeah,
how do we navigate that scenario?
yeah.
Yeah,
So, what I would tell you that we've become really good at, and kind of to your point, I think there's a lot of misconception of, recovery companies, repo agents, and that, let's call it, dark cloud or stigma.
yeah,
And one of the things that's always been a forefront on my mind is, compliance, doing everything, above board, but most importantly, brand recognition for all the partners that we service and making sure that, their best interest is at heart.
yeah. And I think the ignorant part of what I was just saying was more of what you see on TV, right? Where you're just like,
100%.
oh God, look at this. And then it's like
Yep.
airplane repossessions and everything. And it's like, dude, it's all
Yep.
for show. Like you
For
guys do
sure.
this on a daily basis. I'm sure it's very more often it's not dramatic. Just a business transaction. But yeah.
Yeah.
So this company's 1998, so 28 years old. In Buffalo. How many employees do you have, Brian?
So great question. In the last 2 years, we've really ramped up. I think to date, I believe we're 56. Don't quote me because we had a couple new hires coming in the last couple weeks. But
Congrats.
yeah, no, it's been a great journey. I think my focus has always been culture, and culture can be a very broad term, that people use in a lot of capacity. But I would tell you that we're blessed with a great workforce in Buffalo that is really focused. It's a very family-oriented, grounded community where people given great opportunities like to stay, with an employer. So my focus has always been create a great work environment, work-life balance, giving back, and just always creating the vision that people have an understanding of where you're going, right? Like, so if you can demonstrate that, and I'll talk a little bit more, but we recently moved on to a platform called EOS, and EOS just creates great structure and foundation with meetings and all the tools that you need, as a visionary to be able to get your team all rowing in one direction and everybody having an understanding of where we're at today, where we're going, and how we're going to get there.
And I can imagine when you started this in 1998, you probably never thought you'd hit the half a century mark from an employee perspective. You're probably like, after the first five, like, we're good.
Had no clue. Had no clue. And one of the great attributes is we, generally speaking, from employees, we get a lot of referrals from employees that know somebody that would love to get into ACS and be part of our team, which is awesome.
Sure. Come vet it a little bit. And then in the unlikely circumstance it doesn't pay off, you just kind of look at your employee like, seriously?
Right.
I say that just jokingly because I've
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
that a couple times and it's like, that's
Yeah.
great. But let's face it, not everything always works out. I know I've referred some people into some organizations. And
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
just like, Jesse, what'd you do? I say, hey, you know what? I tried.
Right.
If you had to, sorry for all these questions here regarding starting a company, going back 28 years, would you have done anything differently?
That's a great question. I mean, I think, quite honestly, I didn't know what business I was going to be in. So to kind of go there a little bit, I think, given an opportunity to do something, as I mentioned, with this recovery aspect and really see a path forward of creating some innovative things and do something, that kind of is what excited me. So I was always looking for something that I could really immerse myself and build a business, wasn't sure what that was going to be, but 28 years later, here's where I landed.
Yeah, I know. I just think of like the EOS comment and everything else. And I know like consultants reps, what, 4 years old. And as we're continuing to grow and build and everything else, so like systems. And it's kind of like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I can get to that. I can get to that. You just don't want to bite
Yeah,
off the bullet to make that sizable investment. And
right,
I hear that a lot from entrepreneurs like yourself too, where you're just like building the plane as it's in the air, but at some
right.
point you're just like, okay,
Yeah. I would also mention, another notable component of my career path. I was introduced to an organization called Vistage International. I've been a
okay,
part of that for 20 years. And a friend of mine that was a little bit older who ran a business was in a Vistage group and had told me about it. So I came to a meeting, green as can be, surrounded by, 15 CEOs running different companies. But at the end of the day, they liked what they heard from me, and I got accepted to the group. And I can't tell you, all the learning lessons you hear from various people running different kinds of businesses. But at the end of the day, at some point in your career, you may have the same challenge, and it's really just almost a advisory board, so to speak. And running a business, you're kind of on an island by yourself. So helped me out tremendously. And to take it a step further, with Vistage, you have a Vistage chair, which is a coach or the leader of the Vistage group. And you get him for a one-to-one, once a month. And you really drill down on everything from personal things going on in your world to the business. But really, at the end of the day, we hold each other accountable. If you say you're going to do something that you brought to the group and you don't do it, you're going to hear about it. So, really a great forum for that.
no, it's perfect. And I think a lot of people don't really understand the importance of having like entrepreneur groups like Vistage or even those coaching things, how much they help.
100%.
Um,
Yep.
as
Um,
much as we think we know everything, or you can't just sit there in an echo chamber and
exactly.
keep thinking it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, as far as the ELFA goes, we got introduced to really becoming a vendor 15 years ago at one of the conferences. And again, very green, new to this whole concept of exhibiting at a conference. I think our booth was something we threw together, in the back of my house on a Saturday night. And long story short, we arrived, and just a great experience. And, every year just continually look to improve and grow relationships and take advantage of all the great things that the ELFA offers. And I can tell you, as a service provider, really immersing yourself into the learning and all the things, the takeaways and great speakers and everything from economists. I mean, it's amazing. So I've really, trying to get my team more involved in some of the ELFA, opportunities, and we've been doing more of that. Um, as of late, the last 3 years, I was invited to be a part of the executive roundtable, which quite honestly, I thought I would never, you know, how could I be at a table with these higher level, representatives and C-suite folks? But at the end of the day, we all shared great takeaways and problem solving and best practices, and it's amazing. It's awesome.
Well, and you guys have built a wonderful business model there because, I've seen you interact with people at that conference, seen Andrew. I mean, I think that guy might be on the road more than I am.
Yeah.
And all the connections that he has built throughout the years,
Yeah.
right? And, the work that, I mean, he wouldn't have the job that he has if ACS wasn't as successful as they are to their clients that they have today. So kudos to you and the team. I know he, like I said, every time I talk to him, it's like, where are you going? What?
100%. Andrew is just a wonderful individual who's just, helped grow this company immensely. And he's all about it. Great people person and knows the business inside and out. So blessed to have him on the team.
Yeah, and thank you. Real quick, I'm just gonna do a quick thank you to you and the ACS team and him for all the support of EF Cares. Um, he just joined the advisory council. I know we're working on that press release, so I don't even know if it's trickled down to you yet, but we appreciate all your support there, Brian.
No, it's an honor, and love what you guys are all about, and what you deliver. It's great.
So from I guess my next question is kind of like industry relationships and referrals. I'm sure referrals are a massive um form of you guys getting the new business because I mean collections are collections. They're necessary in organizations. But a lot of the time people think it's just like that, like you mentioned earlier, like that dark cloud where it's like, oh, how do we do this? And that's not really good. Like you mentioned, customer centric, right? There is a right way to do this level of
Yeah.
activity from a business perspective.
Yeah.
So just what do industry relationships kind of mean to you and how does it help you kind of grow the business to what it's become today?
Well, when you talk about referrals, and wanting to always be a company that's continually innovating, I think when we first started, we were essentially just a vendor, primarily doing repossessions. And, my whole focus was really to be a partner in, let's call it loss mitigation strategy. If we can help lenders mitigate loss, that's more of a higher level conversation than just being a repo company that picks up an underperforming loan. And I would love to talk about, pain points in your portfolio that are just not performing to your standard, and where we can insert ourselves, whether it's earlier upstream to, resolve some of these accounts earlier before they become problem accounts or have to go to repossession or even charge off. So really just being a partner in loss mitigation strategy and, sitting down with folks and talking at a high level, where we can be effective is really where we're going with, this whole model. Um, and to add to that, I think it also gives lenders some comfort or a little bit of peace of mind, in their lending criteria. Maybe they're willing to take a little bit more risk and knowing that they have a partner or a good source to help manage some of these loans if things, do get into some trouble.
No, that's a right concept. It's all in the data, right? And how do we get
For
ahead of these
sure.
things? Like you're saying,
Yep.
be reactive. A lot of these companies have this data now that they're modeling. You
Yep.
should be able to tell based on what assets in credit class
Eh,
people are going after. Okay, everyone was paying
Yep.
on time. Month six, they paid 5 days later. Month seven, 15 days later. Okay, something's going on. How do we insert ourselves before it becomes 30, 60, 90 a problem?
Exactly. Yep. And I think to your point, getting involved earlier, um, it just makes for easier conversations from a problem solving standpoint and listening to the customer and what his challenges are and what he's going through. And, how do we work this out? What is the best course of action? So earlier is always better.
That's absolutely. Continual contact over communication just works as opposed to the
Yep.
whole set it and forget it. And then when the
Correct.
house is on fire, then you're just like, oh God.
Right.
But I'm
Yeah.
sure, well, unfortunately, I'm assuming you guys probably have both where you're long tenured clients, you have a system and process, and then all of a sudden someone comes to you and they're like, how do you help? How can you help
Right.
us with this
Exactly.
potential? I just cut to the chase mess.
Yes. Right. So,
You want it. You want the former, not the latter. But there's
exactly.
a lot of times that we're brought into um, projects and we weren't involved at the beginning, and all of a
Right.
sudden it's like we have to unwind everything, and it's just
Yep.
it's all there. It's all
For
there.
sure.
It's
Yep.
it's fantastic. Um, in your 28 years, is there any, um, I guess, particular situation from an asset recovery that kind of sticks out to you? We obviously don't have to mention names, but just trying to think if there was anything in particular that you turned out where it was like, wow, look at this situation and how you guys were able to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, there's been, several what I would call interesting events or maybe big wins, if you will. But one that comes to mind is I don't know, probably in the early mid 2000s, we were asked to assist a client with finding a piece of equipment that was purchased in the U.S. and landed itself overseas. There was a group of individuals that kind of had I don't know, they had a little thing going where they were buying assets on a large scale from a multitude of lenders and taking them overseas. And quite honestly, it was something that we were like, we'll give it a shot, no promises, but would you believe we were able to find this individual and one of the pieces of equipment, the largest piece of equipment overseas in a foreign country, and secured it for him, which was amazing.
And you you got it shipped back too?
They took care of getting the unit back through the shipping channel. Yep. So,
It's like, what?
yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
kudos to that. You're probably just like, yeah, you know what? We'll give it a shot, but
Well,
uh,
not to
no
give away the
promises.
secret sauce, but it's really about connections and having people that are boots on the ground, whether it's, right here in our own backyard, or luckily we had some people that knew some people that were over in that area, and we're able to do some skip tracing, if you will. So
Cool.
it's really all about the connectivity.
It's great. And then, are you finding the majority of assets today, depending, I guess, on, well, it's based on asset classes, have GPS units on it that make this a lot easier of a process for you guys from a tracing perspective, or is that not the case, Brian?
So great question. I think with the evolution of technology and GPS, absolutely. I think most of rolling iron, or things that move freely on the road, over the road, so to speak, now have GPS or capabilities to add GPS, which is, it's a great tool from both perspectives, for the client being able to monitor where their equipment is, and then unfortunately, if it does get to a repo scenario, certainly is a great lift or aid to us.
Sure.
Um, but yeah,
And then it's okay, where's the location? Can they be disengaged?
right. And they are at times.
People are going to be people. We can kind
That's
of
right.
we can kind of leave it at that. So
Yeah.
the next question I have, so 2026, how's the year starting off? From a, I guess, delinquency perspective. Like what are you seeing right now this year compared? I mean, you saw The Economist in Naples earlier, I guess,
Yeah.
earlier this month. Um, where are you guys seeing things, Brian?
So I would tell you this, just to kind of wind the clock back a little bit. During COVID, the needs for our services really just came to a standstill. Most banks were working with customers and granting modifications and things of that nature. So those years were, really challenging for us. Call it fourth quarter of 2022, when things started to normalize, so to speak. We just took off. I think there was a lot of pent up demand. There was a lot of accounts that were probably sitting that, now had to be addressed. So from, let's call it, fourth quarter of 2022 to, beginning of 2026, the volume really, from our perspective, has not dropped off at all. So, I attribute that to two things. I mean, I think there's still a lot of lending going on, which is great. And in the lending space, there's always a certain percentage that, you're going to have some defaults and delinquency. We've grown our, client base, customer base quite a bit, so that's attributed to some of the volumes. But I think, it's still from a economic and industry standpoint, I think it still is challenging at times for folks, still some headwinds out there.
Sure, you're still dealing with residual challenges, supply chain challenges, and everything. It's amazing. That's been what, 5 years now, almost 6,
Right.
and we're still dealing with
Yeah,
some of that. Plus, the economic climate today, right? Which
correct.
changes on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people took away, and maybe the message that I got from the economists at, the round table was, with all the data that's there, it's still not very clear, right? There's still, at the end of the day, there's some uncertainty all over the place. I think that adds to it.
Well, and it's now 28 years of you having data on clients and seeing some of these cycles.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the bigger challenges too. Up until a couple of years ago, I mean, what from 2010 till 2000 whatever, there was no decline at all, right? It was just on the
Right.
upswing. So you guys have seen that. So even if there's times of like this for you, that's the time where people should invest in being more reactive on the portfolio to get ahead of the next potential, uh,
Correct. Yeah.
you know, recession.
Yeah.
Excellent. I guess any thoughts on how the rest of the year might play itself out, Brian, or still too early to tell?
We just kind of are wrapping up things here for Q1, and our forecast is pretty much the same as last year. The business is going to remain the same. Obviously, now with some of the geopolitical stuff going on, that's anybody's guess, but we're forecasting a year pretty much identical to 25.
It's so hard. I can't imagine as a
So hard.
business owner now where you sit there and it's because I think that was the MO for almost like the last 2 years for
Right.
even the independents, banks, and everybody. And then all of a sudden, like last year, just kind of went like this. You're just like, wait a
Exactly.
minute, what's going
Yeah.
on here? So I would like to ask the people where it's like, are you doing it based off of that? And they're like, well, sort of, but
Right.
we're kind of hedging a little bit. So,
Yeah.
well, I ask everyone who comes on this program to give me a fun fact about themselves. So, what do you like to do outside of work?
Great question. So I have I guess, a little bit of a dilemma because I've always been a golfer and recently got into boating a little bit. But it's hard to be a golfer and a boater, Jesse, because there's only so many, let's call it great days in Western New York, and you got to pick your battles where you want to, spend your fun time. Um, but the golf thing is, and I love playing with Andrew because he is such a great golfer and he shows you every time. But still working on trying to get my golf game to maybe be a better day than what a boating day could be.
Yeah, and then from a boating perspective, you just got to master the trailer backup and the
That's it.
lift going
That's
on,
it.
which can be an adventure in itself.
Exactly.
That's
So
great. And then, are you born and raised in upstate New York?
I am born and raised in Buffalo, New York. Most of my family is here, and as I kind of alluded to, Buffalo's a great small community. I think there's a few things that we lack, but the things that we really gain between just closeness and great place to raise a family. If you need something done, you know who to call, that type of thing. And I mean, I got to throw it in there, Buffalo Bills. So um,
I mean, you have the Sabres. I was gonna, I do have to take the joke. You lack a Super Bowl win, so we can
here we
have some
go.
fun with that one. We can have some fun with
Yeah.
that one. I'm a Giants fan. Okay, as
Right.
much as we have four of them, the last
Yeah.
decade has not been friendly. So
uh,
they got the Sabres. I think they're in first place right now.
the
So
Sabres are playing incredible hockey. It's awesome. Yeah.
fantastic. It's great. That's nice to. I mean, I'm from the central part of the state, but it's always good to interact with people from the home state.
Yeah.
And from when I say the state, I mean the real part of the state, not the city.
Right.
So we'll have some fun
Thank
there.
you.
I'm sure we'll get some
Thank you.
commentary from that, but it is what it is. And then I'm real quick. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. So when you were doing collections for the furniture store, did you ever have to go repo furniture?
Funny that you
Sorry,
asked,
sorry,
but
sorry to dig into that. I let it go earlier,
yeah,
and I was kind of like,
yeah.
huh.
There was a component of that, and yes, I did have to go and with a couple other people from the store and take back a living room set. By the way, that was on probably a 10th floor of an apartment building, which was challenging in itself. But
Oh, fantastic! And if I was the tenant, by the way, the elevators gotta take the
right.
steps.
But yeah, no, to answer your question, there was definitely a repossession component of that as well.
Yeah. Never a great thing, especially when you have to enter
Right.
someone's premises, but it's
Yeah.
the nature of business.
Yep.
And my last question I have for you, Brian, is why should someone want to do business with Brian Noble and ACS?
I would tell you that we are just really an organization that's customer centric, client centric, and make sure as a service provider, and this is one of our key core values. We always do the right thing, and I know it sounds a little cliche, but we apply that to so many principles. Whether it's an account that was challenged, that we didn't do something right, a customer complaint, we just do the right thing, and I think that's really spoken volumes to the relationships that we've maintained over the 28 plus years. There's probably a handful that are still part of that first group of great partnerships that we've had.
Perfect. Well, I see it when you guys are at conferences and just the interactions that you have with clients. So, congrats again on 28 years. I guess coming up on 29 here soon. When's that day?
It just was in February of this year, so I got a little time,
Okay.
to age
All right.
myself.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate your time today, Brian. Thank you again, and look forward to seeing you at an upcoming, most likely ELFA event.
100%. Thanks so much, Jess. It's been great.
All right. All right. Take care. Thank
Talk
you.
to you soon.